Yes, I'm your host, Jacob. Lucas could not be here. We were trying to figure out a way to do it, a draft and schedule release episode. So, we are going to do a draft. Like, that's what we'll just do here. And maybe in a week or so, we can figure out something for the schedule. But I had Lucas send me the Patriot draft class. Now, there were some shockers, a lot of normal. So I had Lucas send the draft class for the Patriots, and I'll read it off. Patriots' first pick, which was third overall, was Drake May, a quarterback. Not a shocker. Patriots needed a quarterback. They had to find anybody who could do this. Mac Jones was terrible last year. You haven't had success. You now have a new coach, a new regime, kind of. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. And with Drake May, it was not a shocker. It was really more of, was Drake May going to fall to 3 or get picked at 2 by the Commanders? Which we had said on this show, Drake May would fall to the Patriots. I just think they liked the Commanders had other guys they would rather fit with the other quarterback. That's how it works. Next pick for the Patriots was, I want to make sure I see this name. Oh yeah, Jalen Polk, a wide receiver. You need a wide receiver. You needed a guy who could move. You have too many guys who are big stand guys that don't wow you with speed. Jalen Polk has some speed to him. He's a little skinnier, but it allows you to do more because you have big guys who are possession wide receivers, and that's not helping the situation. Then you continue on. You go at Caden Wallace. Let me make sure I got this position down for Caden Wallace. Okay, yeah. You go offensive lineman out of Penn State. An offensive lineman that you needed, by the way. You needed a guy who could help this offensive line. You brought back Michael Owenahue. David Andrews is still there. But you need help. You need help on this offensive line. Bringing in a guy like Caden Wallace gives you quite a bit of help on the offensive line, mainly because there were so many offensive linemen that you could make your pick whatever you wanted to do. So, moving into the next pick, we have I'll make sure it's in Layden Robinson. I thought it first said Jaden Robinson. It's Layden Robinson. So, a guy out of, I believe it's Texas A&M. Yes, Texas A&M Aggies. Another offensive lineman. You could tell what the Patriots were trying to build. Offense. Let's build the offense. Let's maybe get some defense guys in the later rounds. But offense, we go quarterback, we draft a wide receiver, we draft 2 offensive linemen. Pretty good. Also, I want to be fair with this. Layden Robinson's 6'4", Caden Wallace is 6'5". So there's definitely a type that Gerard Mayo is looking for. And then they go with Javon Baker, another wide receiver. Javon Baker has said, look, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the best receiver in this league, which is quite a statement to say from a young wide receiver. But I like the confidence. I like the confidence. Just can't let it borderline on arrogance. That's the difference. Don't let it borderline on arrogance. Don't let it go fully into arrogance. But I like the confidence that he has. You just gotta produce. That's all. Then you have Marcellus Dial. I mean, I don't. Everyone wears suits in these pictures, so it's very hard to figure out. Marcellus. Marcellus. Okay. So then they go defensive back. Again, they go. The Patriots went defensive back in the later rounds. That seems just where they thrive is defensive back in later rounds, and they brought in Marcellus Dial from the University of South Carolina. The other USC is what I prefer to call him. So, and there's definitely a interesting side to this because when you go 6 players in a draft and you draft one defensive player and the rest are offensive, there's a reason for that. You then go, you draft another quarterback at 193 at Joe Milton. That one, Joe Milton the third. So here's the issue. Here's the issue I have with Joe Milton. This is a massive, massive issue. Joe Milton, his biggest issue is this. He can't control the ball. He can't. He has a rocket arm. Unfortunately, you don't know where that ball is going. That's the problem. You can't not tell where the ball is going. He can have plays where he hits you perfectly. And it's like, wow, look at that throw. That was an amazing throw. And then you look at throws and you're just like, he missed him by 20 yards. Like, what was he doing? He missed him by that far. So Joe Milton, the third, I should specify. Actually, the second. Oh, my bad. My bad. No, it is the third. Okay, I'm right. Joe Milton the third. He can't control the ball at all. He can't. So there's a question of, is he going to be able to do this? I'm interested. I want to see. I also found it interesting that you draft two quarterbacks in the top 200 picks. That was a little interesting from my perspective. Like two quarterbacks, 190 picks apart. That's very interesting to me. I'm like, really? Okay. Well, I guess. I guess that's interesting, but it's just strange. Because you kind of go with the guy who's not the amazing athlete in Drake May. He's not exactly going to be perfect, obviously. But Joe Milton they're almost two different archetypes in many ways, which is a gaming term, which means they're two different, they do different things. Joe Milton, in his case, rocket arm, can't control the football. Now, a lot of people also said that he could resemble Josh Allen. Josh Allen could kind of control the ball where it was supposed to go. With Joe Milton, he can throw the ball a country mile, and yet you have no idea where that ball's going. That's an issue, and that's something that has to be fixed by this Patriots team if you even want a good backup quarterback. And the final pick, the Patriots' final pick, Jaheim Bell, who I just want to make sure I get this right. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Jaheim Bell, the tight end out of Florida State. It was one of those interesting things that the Patriots two quarterbacks and a tight end late. Like they draft their quarterback in the first round. They draft another quarterback in a later round. And then they draft their tight ends or their tight end in with the final pick that they have. Bell is 6'3", 239. That's it. If I want to actually make sure. Yeah, Joe Milton, 6'5", 235. So he's actually just a tad bit smaller than Jaheim Bell. Again, I'm interested. I want to see what happens. You already have Hunter Henry. I kind of want to see what happens. So that's the Patriots class. The Cowboys class, they draft Tyler Guyton after trading back with the Lions. It's one of those things you're trying to figure out how do you wrap your head around this pick. And then the best way I figured it out was I'm confident in him because he played blindside tackle. Yes, he was playing on the right side, but the quarterback was a lefty, and typically you put your best offensive lineman on the side that the quarterback's throwing from, his blind side. So in this case, the quarterback was a lefty. You're blocking his backside, which would have been the right side, which is where Tyler Guyton was. He didn't allow a sack, by the way, so that's all well and good. Um, the second pick was Marshawn Nealon. Interesting, Western Michigan kid. This was a pure run stopper. He's not really a sack artist. He can get some sacks. He has got long arms, but he's not a sack artist. It's just he can do it. Maybe he changes. Let's see what Mike Zimmer chooses to do with him. But this was a pure run stopper. The Cowboys could not stop the run on the left side. The right defensive end could not stop the run. The amount of times they would have an offsides or a blown edge on the right end side or left tackle side, more often than not. More often than not. They couldn't keep contained. They couldn't do these things. That is why Marshawn Nealon was selected, in my opinion. Next up, in the trade with the Detroit Lions in the third round, the pick that they got from the Lions to drop 5 spots, the Cowboys take Cooper Beebe, the offensive lineman out of Kansas, former teammate, now current teammate of Deuce Vaughn. Played with Deuce. This was a great pick. The guy was expected to go in the top 40s, and you get him at pick 73. All of a sudden now, within the first 3 picks, you fixed your offensive line, and you might have fixed your ground game, at least on the right side with your defensive end. Then, your normal pick, this is where it gets a little weird from the Cowboys. Pick 87, they take Maurice Luafau, the linebacker at Notre Dame. It was a shocker. It was a shocker. They had people they could have got that were better. I believe Peyton Wilson was still on the board. It just sounds more right to be Peyton Willis, not Peyton Wilson. Just to say, just sounds more right, but it's not. Maurice Luafau, instinctive guy, just hasn't played a lot, and he's not been like when he's out there. He doesn't make a lot of tackles, but this was a Mike Zimmer pick. This was a Mike Zimmer pick because Zimmer said that this guy, we brought him in for a visit, and he immediately knew how to set up our defense. That explains that he's very smart and very much understands the parameters of what he has to work with. So, okay. Number 174, which is a compensatory pick. The Cowboys, who didn't pick in the fourth round, take Kalen Carson, the cornerback out of Wake Forest. Probably one of the best cornerbacks that was left at that point. Out of Wake Forest. He is very talented. He's an outside corner, which is what the Cowboys kind of need. But he does one thing very well. You would expect that to be coverage, in which he does exceptionally well. But he does one thing very well. He's a great run defender. The one issue the Cowboys have always had with corners, they don't want to stop the run. They don't want to tackle the running backs. This guy's willing to do that. That's an advantage that the Cowboys didn't have from an outside corner. They have guys that want to play the ball, and they got guys who can cover a little bit. They don't have anyone that's really going to stop the run. Boom. Plug this guy in, you're good. It's kind of like, think of it this way. Think of it this way. You have a house, all right? Your house is made, you have cement, you put foam in to keep the house as warm as possible. But what you really decided to do on the outside was we need no one to tell what we're doing. We need a gate. Boom. That's him. That's Kalen Carson. Next up, in the sixth round, a compensatory pick, the Cowboys select Ryan Flournoy, the wide receiver out of Southeast Missouri State. Now you ask, what is Southeast Missouri State? Otherwise known as SEMO. Small school. Very small. In fact, if I look this up, I haven't looked this up. I have not looked this up. Okay, for an enrollment to Southeast Missouri State, 7,306 undergrads in Southeast Missouri State. Not a big school that your undergrads only, there's 7,000 undergrads. And the thing about Ryan Flournoy is this. He's a big dude, actually. He's really big. Let me try and get Let me see if I can get this here. Oops. Because I believe he's 6'3". There we go. So it's interesting when you look at he's 6'2". At 205. So he's tall and skinny. He's not, but he's actually built very well for a guy who's 205. Um, Here's the truth. He went he went to Central Missouri till 2020, transfers out to go to Iowa Western CC in 2021, transfers out again, or gets out again, goes to Southeast Missouri State from 2022 to 2023. This and he has the interesting thing about Ryan Flournoy is you look at him, he's fast, he's strong, and he has great hands. His hands are like pillows. It's actually insane to watch. Now, how will he adapt? Might take some time. We'll see. Next up, another. Well, actually, no, this isn't a story pick. We're in the seventh round, pick 233. This was the trade with the Raiders a year ago, I believe. They go and bring in Nathan Thomas out of Louisiana Lafayette. He's a tackle that is going to probably play guard, but he's actually really like if you were the biggest thing that the cow. This is what I'm reading this off CBSSports.com right here. It says the biggest thing the Cowboys did not address is the offensive skill position upgrades. They did not attack them aggressively. I mean, what were you looking at exactly? That's the question. Because if you're looking at, well, they didn't attack the offensive block. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They needed a tackle. They needed a center. Boom. They need some depth. Boom. They draft 3 offensive linemen and 8 picks. And plus, you did it uh day 3. We get you got 1 in day 1. You got 1 in day 2. And you got 1 in day 3 at great value. Then you have your original 7th round pick. You draft Justin Rogers, defensive tackle out of Auburn. He's not a sacker. He's not. He's a big guy. He is massive. Okay? Let's go. I want to make sure I get this right because this guy isn't just a pure. He's like a wall. He's not. He is 6'3", 346. He's a massive human being. His job, just be the plug. Just be the plug because you have to play on this team. You have to. There is nobody who can play defensive tackle and stop the run on this team. You have to play defensive tackle. You have to. You have to just be a wall. He's not going to sack you. That's not his thing. But in terms of making you go and defend him, good luck. So that's the class for the Cowboys. Now, there were some interesting picks. Michael Penix. I still don't know. But one of them that I was interested with was Peyton Wilson. out of Utah, out of the U. The reason I was surprised about Peyton Wilson is he was an unbelievable player. He tested unbelievable well. He tested great. The one issue, and it's a massive issue, is double-digit surgeries on shoulders, on knees, on ankles, everything. Double digit. That's why teams stayed away. Except one team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers did this last year too. If you remember, Darnell Washington of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you remember? Big guy, 6'8", long arms, wasn't even the best tight end at Georgia. That was Brock Bowers, who is a rookie too, and he's with the Raiders now. But why did Darnell Washington fall to Pittsburgh? Knee issues, back issue. A guy who's 6'8" is going to have knee issues, is going to have back issues. In the case of a Peyton Willis, he's not 6'8". He's oops, I gotta get the right one. Let me get the right one here. Peyton Wilson, 6'4", 238. Not the biggest guy in terms of height. You would expect a guy with his injury history to be a little taller than what he is. He's actually 6'4", so fairly tall for a linebacker. But he lasted to the third round. Why wouldn't anyone want him? The injuries. What happened to Washington? He lasted to the third round. What happened? The injuries. The Pittsburgh Steelers said, that's a great player. F the injuries. F the injury report. Who cares? That's a great player. I cannot name the amount of injuries that Peyton Wilson has had. He doesn't have an ACL on one knee. He doesn't have He's had his shoulders operated on multiple times. He's not, I guess, the figment, or not the figment, but if you were looking up health in the dictionary, Peyton Willis would not be there. But if you were looking up the word injury or injury prone in the dictionary, Peyton Wilson would be right there. But it does not say you won't be a good player. That just says, oh, these people don't think I will because of my injury history. Like, I'll do it. Remember Tyjae Spears of the Titans? No ACL on his name. Remember Jay Ajayi? Played with the Dolphins, played with the Eagles, won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. No ACL on one knee. Therefore, probably won't play very long. But will he be good? Yes. It's the way this works. These people say, I can't believe I done that again. Maybe it just died. Okay. That's probably better. But I can't believe people think that if you believe that Peyton Wilson is not a good player and won't be a good player because of an injury history, then you're an idiot. You are very much an idiot. Because Peyton Wilson, I believe, will be a great player. And for whatever reason, the Steelers got another one. It just happens. Um, I can't wait to see what happens, and I honestly, I want to see what happens. Now, the thing is, you got a couple of those guys. Well, this is the big question. Who's the biggest player that's not going to be good? And we can't tell that. And I honestly say we can't tell that from years down the road. We can only say that. So here's what I'm going to say. With the amount of offensive linemen in this class, I wonder how much will stick in the league for 5 years, 10 years. I want to see that number. And then we can have that conversation. But until then, I want to know, what do you guys think of if Peyton Willis, you look at all these guys. So I want to take this. Who do you think was the most slept on player in this class? It could be Cooper Beebe. It could be Joe Milton. It could be Peyton Willis. It could be um it could be a Michael Penix. We may not know. It could be a Bo Nix. Even though those are two high drafted players, they could be those guys. What do you think? And do you think it's accurate? I'm curious because I think it's interesting and I want to see what happens. And finally, I want to do this. The Chargers drafted a Hall of Famer's son, and the Cardinals drafted a Hall of Famer's son. Marvin Harrison Jr. went to the Cardinals in the first round. Brennan Rice got drafted to the Chargers. And I saw the video today that the Chargers put out of day one of a rookie in the NFL. They get into the building, they do the whole thing. And I saw them put Brennan Rice's number up, and it was number 82. I'm like, we couldn't get this guy 80. We couldn't. Why not? Give him 80 and let's go. We couldn't do that. I honestly, I need to know. I understand it's Kellen Winslow's number. I get it. I understand it. But it's just been retired. It hasn't been like 5 years. The statute of limitations is still, the ink is still wet on the paper. We can just clean it off. Just wipe it down or get Kellen to say his blessing or whatever, and let's do it. Because it was just too perfect. Like to me is more interesting than anything. So I want to see that. But otherwise, I thought it was well done. And before we go, because I know this was just a draft special, Hard Knocks has been labeled. It's been done. The team has been selected. It is the Chicago Bears. Now, this one it makes sense. It's also it's also it's also a shocker because for the second consecutive year, Hard Knocks has had a hard time to find a home. It really has. They have not found a home easily. No one's welcoming this in with open arms. The Jets last year didn't want to do it. Didn't want to do it. No one wanted to do it. The NFL said, nope, you're doing it. Here you go. Here's your camera. Here's your thing. Go talk to Aaron Rodgers about space and talk to him about politics or talk to him about, what kind of the sun is. Whatever you want to talk about, go there. And then now it's with the Bears. I don't know what you talk about in Chicago. I have no idea. But the point that I'm trying to make is that this was completely shoved into Chicago's lap because they didn't want to do this. No one wanted to do this. Second time that's happened. NFL, maybe we take a hint. Maybe we take a hint. Or we try and pretend that it's not true. But either way, the Bears are on Hard Knocks in the Windy City. That is it for the What a Play podcast. Again, like I said, if me and Lucas can find time in our schedules, we will do a schedule reveal of our teams and interesting games, rivalry games, games that we should probably pay more attention to, some games we probably shouldn't, and who we think could be on the top of the league in their respective divisions. Again, that could all happen next week or whenever me and Lucas find the time. Thank you for watching the What a Play podcast. We hope you enjoy it as we enjoy you spending time with us. For Lucas, I am Jacob Hibbert. See ya.